And a good and a warm welcome to everybody that is joining us this morning. My name is Hanni Spangenberg. I'm the General Manager for Student Information Systems at Corp, and I would like to welcome you all to this third webinar in our series on why should you use academia as your choice student information system. And today we're going to talk about technology and hosting. And I will just refer back on the path that, so that you know where this fits into the picture. So the first webinar, we spoke about the user experience when using the academia system. In the second webinar last week, we looked at customization and configuration and integrations into the system. And today we're going to look at technology and hosting. Next week, we're going to spend some time on the cost efficiency of the academia system. So please sit back and enjoy and relax. I hope you find value in the next, hopefully less than an hour that we spent. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box and also the company and the country that you come from, or the institution and the country that you come from. If you have questions, also post them in the chat box and we will address them at the end of the session. The recording of the session will also be sent out to everybody that has registered for the session, and then you are more than welcome to contact us afterwards for any questions or related queries that you have. For those of you that have not attended these sessions before, I first again want to start off with showing you where does academia fit into this bigger picture of Corp. Today we've got people that has registered from Tanzania and Ghana, and I see from Zambia, and of course from South Africa, in the likes of DUT. And we are very grateful to have you all there. And I want to make sure that you have a view of, if you look at the academia student information system, where will that fit into your picture of what Corp can do in your institution? Corp has been in business for more than 20 years in the education sector. And we are currently have clients in all the countries where there's English speaking in Africa capabilities. There we have clients. In South Africa, of course, we have a big component, but we also have a focus on driving our business towards the African sector. And in the academia team specifically, there is a lot of knowledge on student information system implementations and maintenance in the African sector. Corp has served a lot of clients and a lot of students and lecturers and academic personnel through many of the products that we have available. But it's also important to recognize that we have a tradition of excelling in what we do, and that can be seen in just the awards that we've won just in the last year. So the Most Innovative Higher Education Technology Company 2020 award has been given to Corp last year in the African Excellence Awards. Then we were also crowned the best e-learning consultancy firm in Africa in the Small Business Awards by Corporate Vision, and we were recognized by Global EdTech Award as a finalist in the EdTech Company Setting a Trend 2020 category, which are all three big ways for us to demonstrate, or valuable ways for us to demonstrate our commitment and our dedication to the technology in the higher education sector. If I say that we manage the student experience in the education institution market, what do we use to manage that? And we have a grouping of systems and services that we use to manage this student experience that you as an institution have, and that consists of so many components where you have to make sure that you attend to each of the phases in the life cycle of your students. And we manage with software and services to look at all those phases in what we offer. So we've got systems like Canvas, which is a learner management system. We also have the Gcamba learner management system, which is a smaller version or a different market focus with the Moodle services that we offer and the Moodle implementation that we offer with the Gcamba learner management systems. Academia is, of course, the heart where the student site of information start off with. turn it in for plagiarism detection. We've got an e-commerce platform. We've got a very big range of change management services that goes together with implementation or change to any of these systems in your institution. MotoLab, which is a mobile framework that allows you to do your own mobile development within the framework without having coding experience. And then together with this grouping of systems, we have a very big component of services that we offer in the education sector for digital content development, digital courses that is available online, the digitization of your study guides, a course development toolkit that allows you to have a structure of the same rules when your own personnel developed your courses. Learner management system implementation and other services, the hosting of LMSs. So this all forms part of the picture from when your students start to inquire at the institution via the academia system, managing the cycle of registrations and application, payment of fees, of course, through the e-commerce platform, the total life cycle of the student in the academic side. Of course, they Turnitin plays a big role in managing the integrity of your students up until when your student graduates. That is the cycle that is managed with this grouping of systems. So where does what we want to talk today about fit in? Academia, that being my first love in this cycle, is where the heart of the student information lies. And it's important to know that this is one big picture, but you need to make sure that these components in your picture talk to each other and that you do not have a disparate system where you have all these smaller bits and pieces and there is no consolidation between your different software. And that is where I4Corp plays the role to make sure that all these components in the cycle that we offer is also one single big process that you can implement in your institution. But today we want to focus on academia and what we can offer with that. Academia is developed by Cerosoft in India, which is a company that has been in business for more than 50 years and just in the education sector for more than 10 years with the academia system. They've got a very big range of clients worldwide, with also now a focus on the African and the South African sector. And Cerosoft also is a company that has got a range of awards that proves the value that the market see in what they do, not only with their software, but also in the education sector. So that is a bit about the companies. Let's look at what academia does. So, you know, there's a system, and you know, today we want to look at a specific component of that, but in total, where does this system fit into your picture? In the academia system, we manage the student cycle from the campaigns and inquiries, which is sometimes unique in the SIS because usually they start off with admissions and applications. We already start with managing your campaigns, going on to inquiries, through the cycle of admissions and registrations, your academic management of your student, study material, and there the integration to your learner management system becomes very important. And that must be a seamless integration to make sure that you do not have to run around with sets of data between these two systems. Examinations up until completion. The cycle of your student from when they start at the institution until they complete their studies. Very embedded in that is, of course, your student finances. And each of these phases, where relevant, will generate your financial transactions and all student financial management and related actions can be done on the academia system, which of course includes your scholarship management also. Then academia has got a very strong component of communication, that not only to your stakeholders, but also to, on a reporting level, to people that you need to communicate all this masses of information that you now have in the system in a logic way. And we looked at the stakeholder satisfaction in the first and the second webinar, so today I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but that will always be a part of any of these discussions we have around academia, because they are at the end of the day the people that you want to satisfy, with this sometimes very painful process to get a system implemented in your institution. Of course, this all is supported by the structures and the rules in the system, with things like your user access and your log files, and a range of general components and services that help you to manage these different business areas in your institution. And that is what academia in general does. So if you look at this picture, many of you will say, but this is actually what a student information system does. So where does academia make this different? And that is the focus on what we also want to look at today and with the other 3 webinars in this series. Why specific academia? And the good news is today is all about your needs. It's not very often that you hear that. So let's look at your need as an institution with regard to the technology that the system can offer. I'm going to touch on 4 components. Hosting, the releases of your software, technology pure, and then integrations. Let's start off with hosting. Now, hosting is that very hairy part where you as institution has to take the decision between on-premises data centers and then a platform or infrastructure as a service, which we often refer to as being in the cloud. Now, for me, that already says a lot because being in the cloud is a good feeling, and I still believe that is the better option to go when you look at the server and system implementation that you want to follow. But yes, for you to take the decision, which many times fall within the IT department, on where do we want to make this system available to the institution. And that is actually a sore question to a very big problem because there are many components that influences this question. And sometimes it's not just enough to look at market trends and say, but the market is moving towards cloud. Why is the market moving towards cloud? You, as the decision maker in a SIS choice, still have the responsibility that you know why you make that decision and make the decision based on what is best for the institution. So I'm going to spend a few minutes on premises and cloud hosting and where does academia assist in that. Premises, we know that is if you get your own data server on campus or on a location that belongs to you. And there are many challenges with regards to your guarding of your technology assets, your hardware, things like security, which become a big problem, the administration of your networks and your server. That is all on-premises components that you have to take into account. But on-premises is not always a bad idea. There are some advantages to that, and that is based on where your institution is and the business of your institution, which sometimes the country plays a role also in. So on-premises systems, that keeps your business data close to your institution. So you have control over your business data and you know that it is kept on campus close to the institution, which for some of the institutions is a point that they usually argue with regards to why do we want to go on-premise. Then also, if you have on-campus implementation or on-premise implementation, you can use shared infrastructure, which can lead to a cost saving or can be cost effective because you do not only need to have a single environment for the academia system, but that can be shared with other software that you also want on campus. And then I think the more used reason is the fact that if you have connectivity challenges, it is sometimes a more suitable option to look at on-premises data centers because you are sure that you can control the connectivity issues within your own environment. So yes, there's definitely arguments to be made for on-premises. My personal feeling is cloud hosting, and I think I'm going to spend a bit more time to try and convince you to look at cloud hosting. So where does cloud hosting fit in? It's just taking a lot of the effort away from you and giving you values like easy to upgrade, lower cost of ownership, the system is always up, your connectivity is there, you can be productive anywhere because you've got access to the system from anywhere, the offsite storage of your data, which takes away the responsibility for you to do things like backups, There's no IT maintenance cost and disaster assistance when needed. And I think I quickly want to run through some of them to show you in these market trends on why do you look at cloud benefits. Where does academia fit into that picture? There's a few things that you take into account if you say, why do I want to go with cloud hosting? So one is a cost analysis. Considering the cost of servers, networks, equipment, UPSs, generators, power banks, everything that needs to be in place to set up your infrastructure, which is definitely a big cost component. The physical security location and the access with regards to that and around that. Also the physical location and the space requirements for a data center. Infrastructure of the buildings that you use, manpower costs for server administrators, IT administrators, that is all things that, or components that has a cost consideration. Internet and other incidental costs with relation to the on-campus or on-premises hosting, maintenance and the upkeep of costs. That is just some of the components that will be a cost component when you analyze whether you should go on-premise or cloud hosting. Academia, with Microsoft as its partner, uses the Microsoft Azure ecosystem to provide a cost-effective cloud hosting infrastructure for academia, which just group all these cost considerations into one basket of, we use a partner that takes care of or put it into a controlled environment for you as an institution. What is typically the things that you then save on or get value from in a cloud-hosted academia? Of course, it reduces your capital expenses because you do not have to look at things like servers and networking and physical locations and manpower for server administrators and other incidental costs. There's a big component of those cost considerations that just falls away then. It's the challenge of future expansions, and it eliminates the economic pressure of your own data center. And I think in this environment where we are now, the elimination of economic pressure after a year, near and a half of COVID is a very big component for any of the institutions to look at. So that argues, if you look at the cost analysis, why is cloud hosting better from an academia view? The second one I want to refer to is your HR and manpower skills. Now, those are usually skills that is difficult to find, resources that is difficult to find, also because they are so sought after in the market. It is expensive talents that you use, and the recruiting and, more important, the retaining of those resources are many times a big headache for institutions. Academia uses an experienced and a renowned cloud solution provider like Microsoft Azure that's got a wide range of skills and resources already available for you to use, eliminating your need for your own manpower and HR skills with regards to having an on-premise implementation. So there's Microsoft engineers and Microsoft Azure engineers where the partnership lies that monitors your instance, your database, and the server for you, taking that responsibility again away from you as an institution. Maybe I want to pose the question here, why? Because that is not your core business. Your core business is to look for a student information system that will fit the need of the institution and that will be, can be used as a marketing, a management, an administrator, and the academic tool for your institution. And that is your main focus, not to technically maintain an environment where there are skills available to do that. Thirdly, let's look at security. So there's two components in security when you look at cloud hosting versus on-premises, physical security, but then also the logic of this, logic security, which looks at components like old and obsolete technology that, a second I want to admit, that you still use, using older versions of an operating system and software, well, the non-upgraded network components in your on-premise environment, those are all dangerous security components if not maintained in the right way, which will be not your problem and not your responsibility if the system is hosted in the cloud. So where does academia stand on that? We use a reliable and experienced partner to make sure that when we host you in the cloud, you do not have the extra resources needed to maintain the security in your institution on the system. Okay, reliability, disruption, disaster events, that is all a constant risk in an IT environment. And that will always be one of the things that you cannot plan for as you would like to plan for. Power failures, connectivity issues, hardware failures, and building in the contingency to make provision for all these failures and disruptions and disasters to ensure the reliability of the system. That is where the cost comes in for the institution. Not only again in money, but also in time and human resources. How do we counter on that? Academia uses a worldwide and an industry leader, referred to Microsoft, as a partner, and that reduces the need to worry about these issues and ensures a robust and a safe environment. There's provision for backups across these different data centers. If academia is hosted in the cloud, there's uptime guarantee and constant monitoring of your server and your database in academia. So taking again away the need for you to have resources and skills to manage that part. And then lastly, if we look at why cloud compared to premises, if you look at access to managed services and expertise, there are many things as part of your academia or SAS picture that needs to be managed on IT level or in expertise that you need. Your IT assets that needs to be managed. And that can range from your racks to the stacking to firewalls. And very important, the expertise in growth planning for the use of the system. That is sometimes a very unique skill to have in your institution. But again, as we said, with HR and manpower skills, not a very easy skill to get and more difficult to retain. From academia side, being a Microsoft partner, we have access to well-rounded services and support in Microsoft Azure. And our partnership with Microsoft gives you, as an educational institution, indirect access to premium services, sometimes at a fraction of the cost. Those services will typically include things like monitoring of your databases, recovery, patching, backups, security, all lying within the infrastructure of academia hosted in Microsoft Azure. These are all market components, but it's also cost and analysis of cost analysis and the manpower and the skills needed and security, reliability, and this expertise in managed services. But it's important to look at why do we think we can bring value to assisting you as an institution in that picture if we rather suggest host the academia system, although both of these options are available. So in my view, hosting of the system is a way in which you can focus on technology level, what is the core of that of you as a student information system division or an IT division with a focus on the student information system. Where is the core of what you need to manage and you need to look at? Okay, secondly, I want us to look at the releases. Now, releases, if you look at the IT environment, there has always been the two main types of release, that is waterfall and agile. Now, there's a lot of combinations in between, but traditionally, 99% of systems, and not only student information systems, followed a waterfall approach. That was the norm to use, which also means that a lot of them was designed on a waterfall approach from the start. Academia follows the agile approach, and we have been designed on an agile approach from the start. Waterfall approach, I don't think I need to say too much. if you are that small blue boat, ready to go over the side of the waterfall, although it will be a shortened process, it will also be a very painful process. And you actually sometimes, with an upgrade to a new version of a system, have no idea what is waiting on the other side. And the waterfall approach makes that very difficult for you to exit without any injuries in this process. It is important when you look at choosing SIS to see how do we upgrade and how do we maintain and patch this SIS, and not only on side actions to patch it, side actions to upgrade it, but on what principle has this system been designed technically for upgrading? Because that is what determines how easy or how difficult it is for you as an institution to upgrade. We at academia, we have been designed and we do an agile upgrade. We believe in agile upgrade because that is the best way in which we can assist you. Agile is where we do not have one big chunk of functionality that has changed or software that has been designed and now needs to be delivered in a single process or single approach. Smaller releases, smaller outcomes, making technology a lot quicker available. That's the agile way in which we approach bringing you the new technology and new changes in the system. Of course, there's a lot of arguments for agile. Now, cost saving is one of them, because in a waterfall approach, traditionally we know that this is a very costly process and you have to plan for it for 2-3 years, which then becomes a budget issue sometimes within the institutions. Time saving, you don't have that lot of downtime with the upgrade. Resource saving, you don't need all these resources to have one big project every time. The most important one is frustration saving, because putting down the server, shutting down the server, and then upgrading for a week and then starting with the process again is a very frustrating process in the institution. And agile releases take that whole process of frustration away, because it is shorter components of changes and functionality that is released. But for me, the most important one, which is sometimes overlooked by the IT department, is the value that the end user gets in this process. Because new functionality, new technology, changes in the system, I'm not even talking about patches to correct faults in the system, new things that has been added, new market trends, new technology that is available. That just becomes a lot sooner available for the end user to use if you follow an agile approach. So your end users, who are ultimately your critics and your marketers of your system, they get the value a lot sooner in an agile approach. So how do we do agile releases? We have two types of release, a major release and a minor release. The major release occurs every quarter, and that includes all the new features, the functionality, the reports that has been designed, that is made available. There is no big downtime. If there's downtime, it's a controlled overnight process, and that is made available to the institution, and you can continue with documentation that guides and assists you to work the next day already. Minor releases, that may occur every month. That has to do with these enhancements that you immediately need, or requests that has come from authorized users within your institution, where there's changes that will affect the business process of the institution. Then sometimes these we do in the after minor releases, that goes out every month. But you will still see for a major release, it is not a cycle of every 18 to 24, sometimes 36 months to release the system. Every quarter, the new functionality is made available, and you as the institution get the value of that on many levels. Okay, so let's look at technology that we use in the system to make academia of value to you as an institution. What do we do that brings you value? Now, one is the device independency. The academia system is device independent for use by any of the end users or stakeholders. So if you have any known device that's available in the market that you can use the system on, you don't need to request for a development for a device that is, or a program or a part of the system that is specific to that device. Of course, now I refer to smartphones because that is usually the first thing that everybody wants to use the system on if you're younger than 25. But the academia system doesn't care what device you use. We have customized it or optimized it so that it's available for usage from any device. Because it is also important that you can move around and continue to use the system depending on where you are with the different devices available for your usage. So use what device you want on the system, and the system will optimize so that you can continue to see and do what you need to do. Academia is built on the latest technology stack. We use open source technologies like MySQL and Java. Why? Because that is a massive cost saving to you as an institution. It brings you new technology, it brings you a lot of user-friendly technology, easy to develop on, but it also brings you the value of cost savings by using open source technologies. Using this technology, and not only the open source, but this new technology on the latest technology stacks, typically brings the value of technology in things like the analytics and reports that's available. So this was an example of management where they can see financial information from the fee side for students in an analytical view, and as you change the parameters on top, the view will change. Because of technology, it is easy for us to make available user-friendly analytics and reports that the end user can use. Because of technology, there's a student app that is built into the academia system, and with deployment is designed based on what you want to release on push delivery to your students, and the student app is available to use. You don't need to go and design a separate student app that now needs to be interfaced with your student information system to make that available to students. Another use of technology is the responsive portals for lecturers. This is the example of the lecturers one that allows us to use responsive portals for data communication and data updates to the academic staff and administrative staff on that level. Your chatbot, making available through technology the use of a chatbot where you set up your questions, you have full control over what is in that chatbot and what you want the answers to be. And that is all things that, because of technology we can make those available in the system as part of the functionality to the users. User configurable screens, one of the many touch sore points in the institutions. I want to change my screens and I want to add fields. I want to hide fields. When I run a report, I want to select and deselect some of this fields that is available. How easy is it to do that? I want to change the naming convention in the system that I use. And those are all things that is due to technology built into the academia system. And that makes it available for the end user to easily adjust those things. Again, there needs to be a level of configuration that is not the responsibility of the institution to maintain, and definitely not the, you don't want the vendor to do that maintenance, because then it becomes costly and time consuming. And the academia system makes it available to the end user. What fields do I want to show, and what fields do I want to hide when I display these results on my screen? How do I want to customize the look of this screen specific to me as the end user? And many times that is related to the job or the role that you fulfill, because you want to see fields that is based on the role that you fulfill. And 3 or 10 of you can use the same screen, but in my screen, I want to hide some of the fields that the other people see because I don't use them, And there's some fields that are important to me, and I want to move those fields to the beginning of my screen or to the beginning of the display of the data. And this is typically what I have done here. So easy for the end user to have the control and change on those fields and configure them for their own needs that we use. Another component is messaging and CRM. Academia has got built in a lot of messaging functionality that allows you to, on different levels, message to the students and to the end users and, well, to all the stakeholders. And I will spend a bit of time on that to show you how easy it is for an administrative personnel member that works with a list of applications to send SMSs or emails or whatever communication level you want to use to all of them. But also important is the principle of CRM on which the system has been designed in the relevant options, allowing you to directly from your operational options communicate with the end users or with a grouping of users that is relevant to the action that you do in a CRM capability way. So directly sending out communication, selecting, deselecting groups, identifying specific groups of users. That is what the system makes available through the CRM functionality. Sensitive data is stored in the database in encrypted format. Validation, so there's a lot of validations built in the system, but they can be grouped as the client-side validation, where you can set some of the validations. There's server-side validations that you set on a global level. There's database validations that you can set once and it is applicable to everywhere in the database that it uses that validation. Different validations that gives you the assurance of control over your structures in the system and the assurance of your data quality because of general validations that you can set in the system. Cross-browser support. You can use any browser to run the system with. You are not dependent and forced to use a specific browser. Advanced search criteria builder, allowing you the functionality to build your own search criteria into searches that you want to do. And not only be dependent on the type of fixed reporting that is sometimes available in a system. Rules engine for rules. We use the rules engine that allows you to set up many rules, and these rules is the reason why the system is more configurable than customizable, which is not theoretically true, but it gives you, the end user, the functionality to configure the system on many levels before you have to start to look at customization. Multilingual, you can set the language of the system to different languages when you implement the system. The security with multi-level checks and user authentications in the security functionality like single sign-on, that all based on the, or due to the technology that we use in the system. And then lastly, one of the hairy issues in any institution, the reporting side, the dynamic reporting on the JasperSoft framework on which the academia system has been designed. To make sure that if you want to run a report, you as a user, again, have the capability to have some configuration without any customization needed for the reports. So you have the ability to sort differently, ascending or descending. You have the ability to choose what fields available in this data set do I want to use when I export or generate this report. Which of the data do I want to see or hide for my specific request now? Because you're not always the one that asks the data, but you are the one that needs to supply it. And many people have different ways in which they request that. You can decide in the fields, generate that data and directly take it to Excel or any other format that where you want to use it. But easy to use format, easy way to use because of the JasperSoft framework that has been used. And for those of you that are familiar with JasperSoft, you also know that this brings a lot of functionality like your graphical display of your information, statistics that can be shown in graphical format and in different types of formats that fit the data that you want to display. Dashboards, very powerful graphical dashboards that can be set up per user because of the Jaspersoft framework that is used. And a lot of functionality that just makes your life as an end user a lot easier on the reporting level. Lastly, I want us to touch on integration, because the technology level always boils down to, we've got this wonderful system, but this is only for a part of our business in the institution. What about the rest of the business? Is this an island? Do we operate on this island? And what happens with the data around that? And although we all know that integration is possible, and you will not ask a vendor and they will say that they cannot integrate. Everybody will say that they can integrate. But I do think there's a science behind how you integrate and when you can integrate, and how easy it is for a vendor to integrate. Because integration can also be a lengthy and a costly process for the institution if the system has not been designed in a way to assist in integrations. So that is the act of combining or linking different systems into one coordinated set of data, and to assist in the joining of that data and the sending of the data back and forth between these different entities. So that is what we essentially do with integration. The academia, because of its flexible architecture, can easily integrate. And if you look at the list of third-party plugins or APIs available that we will touch on briefly, there is ample proof that we have done a lot of integration. And that is typically to your institution's website. Very important this time is to learner management systems, to your accounting engines or accounting software, to your payment gateways, to access control systems, to your library management system, any other systems that is needed in your business processes that needs to talk to your student information system. But who are the people, or what are the reasons why integration should be a value add and not a pain when you look at the SIS? One thing is always your stakeholder satisfaction, because they are the people that is dependent on how easy it is. If I do work within two business units that use different systems, how easy is it for me to have a single source of data, that I do not have to duplicate data, and make sure that there is a quality between the duplicated data and one set of truth in the data. And your integration from academia to any of these disparate or third-party plugin systems, we make sure that you have a single source of data to control the quality of that data. It also gives the stakeholders the ease of operation, that they do not have to worry about, and the IT department doesn't they have to worry about getting the data from one system to another system in a timely manner. Integration is also very important if you look at reporting to governing and funding bodies. In South Africa, that is a very big component of the information that an institution has to supply, and we make sure that the academia system integrates with all the governing and funding bodies needed, and to have reports and data integration available in the required formats to these governing bodies. One example here is your fees. So student fees is done in the academia system. There is full functionality to manage your student fees, but at some stage, the student has paid, life goes on, but this information needs to become part of your institution's financial information. That needs to end up in your general ledger in some or other way. And that is where the integration from the academia system to whatever financial management system you use is important. We have quite a few existing APIs to financial management systems, which aids in the knowledge that we bring to the table if you use one of them, because there's just a few in the market that's usually used in the education sector, or if you use that is outside of what is usually in the education sector, to make sure that that can also integrate to your financial management system because of the knowledge that's already been built up. Data quality, the duplication of data. So you want to ensure the quality of the data through integration. Because the minute that you have to do manual transfers of data, it is more difficult to ensure the quality and to avoid the duplication of data without making mistakes. So that your interfaces from the academia system to another system ensures the duplication of the data is done in a controlled way. And this is one of the examples is, for example, your biometric information. Because biometrics control who can go where and who can do what. So it's actually a big safety component in your institution, but also a big administration action to make sure that the right data is at the right place. And this is typically what is done in the academia system with integrating to a biometric system and to avoid the disparity between the data in the two systems. Business process flow is the third component that has an influence on integration, and that has to do with the communication that you want to make sure in this flow of process, or in this process flow that you have in your institution. You want to make sure that the communication, for example, is part of that process. Now, if your communication tool lies outside of the system, it is very difficult to maintain and to make sure that you have proper communications, because you want to make sure that whatever you need to communicate, it's easy through integration to SMS tools, to Microsoft tools, to any of the communication tools that you use as an institution, to your email, that has already been done and that is already available. And then the academia system just makes it so easy to communicate and to have that available. You can simply select from any of the relevant options, a grouping of users, click on send a message, decide what type of communication do you want to send to them now, use a template if you want, type in a new message, decide when it must be sent, immediate or scheduled, and send out the information. So not a separate tool that you have to go and use to communicate via the system, making that level of data control through integration very easy for you as the institution and for you as the end user, because at the end of the day, you also do not want to be dependent on the IT department for all the actions that you want to do. Okay, so lastly, let's look at, this is just some of the integrations that is available to give you an idea. Typically, Microsoft Teams, Moodle, or any LMS that you use, Lime Survey, Tally, Koa, which is a library system, an open source library system. So if you implement Koa, open source, then there's already integration to the academia system. That all pushing data back and forth from academia. Systems like your payment gateway, your banking portal that you use, SMSs, biometric attendance, emails, such as your financial software that you use. These are all examples of typical areas in an institution where there's a need to integrate to an existing system or existing set of data, where the academia system may be dependent on that data, or where that system may be dependent on data from the academia system. And we have a very big pool of already developed APIs, as well as an even bigger pool of knowledgeable people that has done these APIs to assist the institutions in that process. Okay, so with that, I want to close off for today by referring to technology. How easy is it how secure and how comforting is it for us to host the academia system? How easy it is to upgrade to new releases of the system? What value does the technology bring to you as an institution or an end user? And how easy is it to integrate based on the existing APIs and the knowledge that you have, that we have within that field of expertise? Okay, and with that, I am going to conclude today and just see if there's any questions. Marketing team, was any questions posted in the chat box that I need to address, or are we clear on questions?
No questions on this side, Annie.
Always, I hope that means that I was clear enough and not too boring to think of questions. I want to thank you very much for your time. I appreciate that. Please join us again next week when we look at the last in the 4 series on the Why Academia webinars, and then we're going to look at cost effectiveness. And then I hope you have a good week. And if there's any questions or any comebacks, please feel free to contact us. When you receive the recording on this, you will also get some contact detail based on that, and feel free to ask. Thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Thank you, Hanley.